Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the Ask the Expert session for breakout session BRK220, Enhance Supply Chain Visibility. We are here to for the next 30 minutes to conduct an Ask the Expert with our 5 experts that we have online. So what we're going to do today is I'll go through what to expect. Our team will introduce themselves. We will open up the session for Q&A, and then we'll have a quick close at the end. So how to engage with us on this Ask the Experts. So you'll see that we do have the Q&A box that's available for you to type in your questions. And as your questions come in, our experts will be reading those, and we will reply to some of those live and share responses here. And then also we can type out some of the answers to other questions if we don't have the opportunity to get to them all live. The questions will appear once they have been approved. So you'll submit your questions in, and then once we approve them, we will publish them out to you. So if you don't see them right away, just understand that our team is making their way through the questions that are coming through. And again, they will answer verbally and over chat. From an etiquette perspective, this session is being recorded, and it will be replayed available for on-demand replay after the event. We ask that you don't record the session on your own. Also, please help our moderators by not spamming the Q&A and know that they are trying to get through the questions as they are coming through. And then lastly, we want to make sure that all of our attendees adhere to the Microsoft Code of Conduct, which I'm going to go ahead and flash up here for you to just peruse real quickly. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton over to Kayla, who will start off our round of introductions while you all start to ask your questions. Kayla.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Julia. Hi, I'm Kayla Patterson, Product Marketing Manager for Supply Chain Insights. I'm really excited to be here today and help get your questions answered. My colleague Vignesh and I will be helping to moderate questions and pose them to our experts that are joining us today. We have Omar, Anand, and Indranil. I'll go ahead and pass it off to Vignesh to introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session. Thank you, Kayla. We are super excited today to talk to you about the latest product in our supply chain portfolio, Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Insights, that we've brought to market and we introduced earlier today at Ignite. With this, we're super proud of the product in terms of how it's going to help businesses such as yours create a resilient supply chain, really predict supply chain disruptions before they happen, and be able to proactively mitigate them and really deliver a great customer experience. So we have our general manager of the product, Anand, our group program manager, Omar, and our CTO of manufacturing, Indranil, who will be addressing a lot of your questions today. And with that, I will hand it over to Anand to do a quick intro, and then we'll go from there.
Hey, thank you, Vignesh. I appreciate that. Hello, everyone. This is really a great pleasure and honor to be able to do this with you all. And this is something that comes once in a few years in the life cycle, a new product, new product launch. So very exciting. My name is Anand Oka. I'm the general manager for Supply Chain Insights. And I just want to say that, the world out there just now is really in need for a strong supply chain resiliency solution. And I hope that we can contribute in our own way. We can talk about the product more. There are hopefully strong features in the product that can actually help you achieve business impact and really face this new set of challenges that are coming towards you. Thank you. Omar, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, Omar Chaudhry. I am the Group Program Manager for Supply Chain Insights. Really happy to be here, and it's a pleasure to be here and to be working on a product and releasing a product like this, similar to what Anand mentioned. It's really the right product at the right time, considering that we're facing all of these disruptions. So looking forward to all of your questions and participating in this session. And there you go.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Indranil Sarkar. I am part of the Worldwide Manufacturing and Supply Chain Solutions industry team. And this is quite an exciting time. Obviously, as you can see, that supply chain is in conversations with everyone else across the industry. And the timing of the product, like Omar said, it's just at the right time. And we're quite excited to see the kind of feedback that we have been seeing it. And so this session is a great way of how we can answer a lot of your questions. So looking forward to the discussion. Over to you, Kaina.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started because we already have questions coming in. Thank you so much, everyone who has submitted questions so far. I'm going to go ahead and read the first one. Our first question is, which kind of integration will there be with the MRP of SCM?
So I think the one I can take this.
Omar, you want to take that one? Perfect.
I think the question, Matthew, you're asking is what kind of integrations will we have with our other systems of record, such as ERP systems, warehouse management systems, other systems. And so for this period at Ignite, you will see published in Power Query SAP, Oracle, and SCM out of the box connectors that we'll be rolling out. And then what that means is you can connect into these systems, and we've provided the data mapping for the base entities. So all of those beautiful graphs and things you saw, all of that, those entities that we need, the data from these systems, we've done that mapping there. But underneath the hood, this is all the data ingestion is through Power Query. So you can easily bring your data from Excel or put it in a blob storage and do the data mapping. If you know how to use Power Query, it should be pretty straightforward and easy to use. I hope that answered the question. So, yeah, go.
No, I thought there was another question that I think is in the published list. Maybe I can take that one, Kayla. The question was, when working with small suppliers that may not have an ERP or other manufacturing system, how can they integrate digitally, and is it possible to manually update SCI or input data from Excel? So if you don't mind, I can take that question. So yeah, the short and simple answer is yes, very much so. We have actually already come across several customers who, even if they actually have a kind of system of incumbent system of supply chain execution, they would still have data in other places in bespoke systems in Excel and other data formats, even CSV files. And then there are, as you said, there are customers who don't really have like an official system of record in terms of supply chain management. It's more like a set of tools that they use. So the short answer is that yes, the product can allow you to upload data even from local storage. It can be in any standard format like CSV, Excel. And it can also be, of course, in remote databases in the cloud, but it doesn't always have to be in a supply chain system of execution or system of record as such. It can be in multiple places, and we have connectors for that. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Anand. There was one question that came in from Kelly. I believe the question was, does SCI require separate licensing if already licensing Power BI and Dynamics 365 supply chain? At the moment, we just introduced the preview version of Supply Chain Insights. As we get closer to the general availability, which will be around mid-2022, we will provide more guidance around the licensing and pricing information. So stay tuned for that. More to come on that. Since I'm already in there, do you want to, Kayla, do you want to see what the next question is?
Absolutely, I can go ahead and take the next question. So it looks like I'm double checking because we're answering questions in the Q&A directly as well so that you can see them typed out. Just want to make sure we don't miss anything. It looks like our next question is regarding CTP, capable to promise. Omar, would you like to take that one on?
Yeah, so if this means, are we looking at capable to promise scenarios? We are. Right now, we are the scenarios we've really been focused on is available to promise. Can we give you full visibility into the current inventory across your warehouses, inventory across your suppliers' warehouses if they're connected to you? But we do want to get into scenarios where we would be able to have at least an idea of what you are able to provide and get to your customer. So we're getting to those scenarios that's in our roadmap, and definitely something we're looking into. Yeah.
Thanks, Omar. Looks like we've got another question that's just come in, and this has not been asked yet. Is there access to the raw data to make customized dashboards and such?
I can take that maybe.
Okay, we'll go ahead and have Anand take that.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the kind of important core features of the product is that we, of course, like give you the ability to bring in your data from multiple sources, from your own systems of record, which can include just local file storage and things like that. You can also get data imported from your partners, business partners like suppliers and customers through a pretty elaborate data sharing and collaboration feature in the product. And then, of course, we are also adding data that we bring in, just out of the box for you, like external signals from the world and things like that. But the bottom line is all this data, once it is brought in, it is normalized according to a certain schema, and then it is your data estate. And that data can be exported out if you want to. You can take it to Synapse or any other analytics tool of your choice, and then you can do your bespoke workloads on that. So yes, definitely the raw data, as you say, is available for you to work with. Now, it's not kept in the raw form of raw schemas because the schemas are going to be very different. There are so many sources for the data. So it's not all normalized to a standard schema, but with that standard schema normalization, the raw data is available back to you, in addition to all the analytics and all the other capabilities that we do out of the box in the product. So you can also, of course, take your normalized data state and do bespoke analytics. And by the way, bring back the results of those analytics back into the product again. So full flexibility is available. Yeah.
Awesome, great question. Thank you, Anand. So I'll take. I see another question here in the chat window. This question is for Omar. Where do you see the transportation carrier and shipper management system to fit in with Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Insight?
Yeah, so this is a good question because this has been something that that is in our roadmap to basically be able to, if you, in the scenarios where you pull in your purchase order data, you pull in your order line and your shipping data, within there, if you have the tracking numbers, what we're looking to do in the post-February timeframe is work with some of the large shipping and freight providers to be able to then give you a type of status or location of where the shipment could be and what type of events could be disrupting or delaying those shipments. So we are looking at the shipping providers to be a data provider. So in this application, we have three essentially kind of data participants. One is the main OEM, which has their site. You have another participant that might be a supplier providing you data, and then you could have other participants like data providers, risk signal providers. And we are looking at this as freight and logistics companies would also be able to provide you with data with where your goods are at. And then we would overlay on top of that what might be potential risks to that to those shipments or those goods arriving on time with some of our AI algorithms. So things like, are we seeing a lot of ships back up in the port, and could this potentially mean additional delays at that port, which would then affect the ship that has your goods on it? So working with the freight providers, with some of our AI algorithms and our own data, putting it all together to try to surface those type of risks. It's not there today, but it's coming in the very near future. Now, Anand, I don't know if you want to touch a little bit more on that. Yeah.
I think perfect. You got everything.
All right, so we've got our next question. This looks like a good one for Anand. This is from Joe. When thinking of nested BOMs, how does this support visibility, not just in the product, but at the component level as a result of the finished good?
Nice. That's a lovely question, Mario. I love that question because it goes to the heart of something that we're doing. So, Joe, the kind of the core answer here is that we are building a digital twin of the supply chain, right? And this digital twin can nest. So the point is that you have your BOM as a manufacturer, and obviously the BOM gets represented as a graph, and you can actually trace. If you yourself have like multiple layers in the BOM, that your end product depends on these, I'll call them sub-products, and then these sub-products depend on these further sub-products. Of course, that will be all seen, but then at some point you will have something that depends on components or parts that come from outside, from a supplier, and then that supplier has his own BOM, right? And then it has its own tree structure, its own set of dependencies. So the point is that anything that you have in terms of your BOM will obviously be represented in a digital twin, and you can actually query that, and analytics will be aware of that, and so on and so forth. So if you saw the demonstration earlier today, you can, for example, ask a question like, for this product, what are the critical dependencies I have, and what is the risk in terms of which suppliers may become like critical bottlenecks for me, right? Things like that. But now if you set up this data collaboration with your suppliers and ask them to export data to you or share data with you, and obviously you'll also share some data back with them, then their data and their BOM kind of comes and sits into this data twin and shows up there in your overall picture. So now you're going to see the cascade that, hey, I have these dependencies within my four walls, but as I cross the walls of my company and I have a dependency on somebody else, that itself has a further like layer or tree structure or graph structure, and that whole thing will show up for you if they have shared data with you. So that is really the core feature here. And once you have all that data shown up as a digital twin, then you can do everything that you can do with it, whether it's your data or shared data, right? You can ask questions, you can run analytics, you can put alerts and watches and all those things. And some of these features are like, just now we have built up some initial features of the digital twin, but really in the next few months, we are going to flesh this out more deeply. And hopefully early next year, you will see like a very comprehensive digital twin experience, which can really allow you to do some very fundamental kind of questions around, like starting from a product, what is my dependency structure, which is like a top-down analysis of your supply chain, rather than just looking at bottom-up, saying that if a particular source or supplier is in trouble, then what are the things that are impacted, which is like more like a bottom-up view. So alerting is like typically bottom-up, but top-down analysis is really something that you would use for planning for resiliency, right? Building resilient designs for your supply chain when you modify the structure of your supply chain to kind of like take care of things that have not yet happened, like a what-if scenario. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks.
All right, Vignesh, I think we've got another question. Is there an ability to share with multiple users at a customer or vendor with different security roles? Oh, this is a great question. Who would like to take this one? I feel like anyone can answer this one. Because this is definitely a discussion that's happened before.
Go for it.
Okay, I can take that, but yeah. The point is that the data sharing is between two organizations, right? Two companies, two businesses. And then once the data is shared into a particular business, then that business gets to choose using roles who has access to what parts of data and what parts of the product, So in that sense, you as a sharer cannot directly kind of say that I'm going to share this data, but this can be seen only by these personas in your company. That part we don't have it yet, and this is something like customers like tell us a lot that this is something that absolutely they need. Of course, we'll take that feedback and build that out, that capability. But what we have heard so far is that companies trust each other with data. They, even today, like companies share out data with each other on email, right? Supply chain experts, supply chain managers will be sharing out data with each other over email on a daily basis. But there is no control on that email, right? Once you share it out, it's visible to whoever, if it's not an encrypted email. So I think that paradigm keeps going. It's just now it's all programmatic and in the cloud. So the sharing is easier, but we cannot change the fundamental fact that once you share the data, you have shared it. And it's up to that receiving party to, exercise the caution and exercise the hygiene that you expect them to exercise. So they, of course, will have the ability to do personas, and different personas will have different access, different levels of access and all that. So Vignesh, Omar, correct me if I'm saying something wrong, but I think that's the picture currently. I think you're muted.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Looks like he's having some trouble with.
Yeah, we just lost his video is all.
Okay, we can come back to that, but I think
Sure. I'll keep that back of mind, but there's a couple of questions that are popping in the chat window. So let me see if I can combine a few of them. So the first question is from Kelly. Is it on the roadmap to have supply chain insights available to be embedded in other Dynamics 365 apps? Anand, do you want to take that? And there's a follow-up question on that as well. So once you address this, I'll ask the follow-up question.
Yeah, I can take that. And Omar comes back, he has a lot of good thoughts on this. But yeah, I think the way we think about this is that, we don't want the customer to need to rip and replace anything right now, right? Because as it is, life is hard, right? We are just not suffering monumental changes and monumental challenges. So the point here is not to push things on the customer that that are not absolutely critical. So whatever system of record you're using, whatever supply chain execution system you're using, supply chain insights can work with it. Now, having said that, obviously we have a full Dynamics portfolio of supply chain applications. And even beyond that, we have other Dynamics applications for customer engagement, finance, and so on. And it's a portfolio. And obviously we have a very well thought out story around how these all things work together. And not just work together in the sense of interoperate, but actually there's like a 2 + 2 = 5 story here, right? That if you're using supply chain management, or if you're using some of our newly announced applications like sustainability, and you also use supply chain insights, then you're going to see some extra magic there, right? Because now these are going to be deeply integrated with one another. And in many cases, and this is something we are working on, as we speak, and there are a lot of good plans in progress. But basically the idea would be, it doesn't really matter whether you start in that other application or start in SCI or go back and forth. That same persona will be, going back and forth between multiple applications, but you don't need to go back and forth into multiple applications to gain the insights. The insights will come to you. You don't have to go to the insights. And in fact, if you saw again today Satya's keynote, it was an astoundingly beautiful and grand vision, right? Where we are doing this with Teams and this whole office productivity and Teams-based platform, where that's where all your work is going to happen. You are all going to be working in Teams and other office productivity tools, and all these Dynamics applications will actually bring their value and bring their insights to you there in that forum ultimately. So it doesn't even matter which app you're using, in the sense which app you're actually logged into. You're always logged in some sense, right? You don't need to worry about it, and the insights will come to you. So yeah, deep integration with other Dynamics apps is definitely something high on our radar. Omar, you want to?
Yeah, I know what the SCM folks on the call are thinking. Yes, we're definitely going to be able to pull directly from the vendor master, have an embedded solution where through just a configuration in maybe the procurement module settings, you'll be able to go in, turn this on, all the data come in. And then a lot of the cool things that we're rolling out with, like you saw the supply map, you saw the risk score, these type of things, we will be able to surface those in D365. And then as Anand mentioned, the alerting both in D365, but then across other applications like Teams. And we are looking at scenarios where we can even tie together both the sustainability app as well as the supply chain insights app. So yeah, lots of interplay with these applications.
Awesome. Thanks both, Anand and Omar. I know we are running very short of time, so there are some really great questions in the chat window. So let me address a couple of them real quickly. This one is from Joe. There are questions around, do we have a much more detailed deep dive sessions for product roundtable? Yes, there is. We have a session tomorrow at 12:30 Pacific time. So make sure to tune in, and we'll have a really healthy conversation around some of the topics that you are posting in the chat window. There are some really great questions here in terms of the trends that you're pointing out. So I'll just quickly read out the question and some of your comments. You mentioned it's very innovative. There's a lot of need, and I feel that this is hard to execute across multiple customers and suppliers. And I believe we have had a lot of voice of customers that we have heard around this topic, and would love to hear some thoughts from Indranil and Anand and Omar in terms of how we are addressing this trend.
Yeah, and maybe I can start first, and then Omar can touch upon this. This has been one of the heart of the problem that we have heard from the industry overall. You know, as we have looked at, you know, with the executive order from the White House recently in February, and you know, the supply chain resiliency requirement, I think one of the key aspect of that visibility challenge has been that how do you have visibility to suppliers who you are not connected with, who you don't have business with, and a lot of those things have to do also with the financial decisions in terms of how far do you go. And you know, that's been one part of it. But then again, you know, the other aspects of it is this geopolitical, the need for, you know, from a single country sourcing to, you know, spreading it across the multiple countries. So those are all an important part of the conversations, and need to have that traceability of the product and the materials all the way from the sourcing aspect of it are critical requirement business wise. And I think, you know, this is where you know, one of the things that you know, we have been thinking about from a supply chain insights perspective is how do we bring that data and in a secure way, but also to ensure that, you know, it is shared between the manufacturer and the suppliers in a way that is the most meaningful, not to share every other information, but what is the most important part of that visibility is a requirement. And I think, you know, Omar, you can touch upon a lot of that work and the conversations you have had with a number of these customers, and essentially, you know, what their thinking process is and how you are approaching that from that perspective.
Yeah, and actually, to your point, you know, as we even had the conversations with the government, the Department of Commerce around this app, you know, it's really getting to how can we surface the right information at the right time. Everything from COVID information to even kind of some of the geopolitical, you know, kind of foresight or warnings that might be coming out. And so there's been a lot of thought that's going around in this space, and how we can resolve the situation where the chip shortage situation, and provide visibility to all of the users who are leveraging chips, all of the American companies that are leveraging chips, and be able to leverage apps like these to like load balance and to make sure that there's not hoarding, and then to also possibly in the future give the different government entities the ability to even have or point to us to the right data sources, so that there's one centered data source of truth. So there's a lot of goodness that's happening here that will drive a lot of participation and bring people to this network to collaborate, because it will mean goodness for everybody. Yeah.
And if I can add just one quick point here, you know, Joe, this is a really important question. I think it is hard to execute. I don't want to make little of this the challenge here, right? It's not trivial at all. But there are two kind of different aspects to that question. Hard in what sense? That hard in the sense of willingness to share data and willingness to cooperate and collaborate across the ecosystem, and then ability to do it. And we have questions on both fronts, but every customer interaction we are having tells me that the willingness is there. It's like the industry is just looking very hard for, they want to do it, it's just they cannot do it today. And that's why if we can shore up the ability front and give like easy to use tools to actually do data sharing, I have a strong feeling that suppliers would be happy to actually work with their customers, because it's a two-way thing, right? It's give, get, everybody gets better, and visibility always improves the market, as we all know. So it's on the ability side, I think, is where the challenges are. But I think willingness side, hopefully, I think it's gonna really catch on the idea that collaboratively we can actually make the system better. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you so much, Anand and Omar. Really amazing. I know we are at the top of the hour. We do have some questions that came in as we were addressing those, so we will definitely answer them via the chat. Any final closing comments, Kayla, Julia?
Well, I'd just like to thank you all for attending the session today. We have put some links into the chat window here to get more information. We also have a product roundtable that will be happening tomorrow that we'd love to invite you to join. And also tomorrow morning, be sure to check back for the business applications into focus session. It will be kicking off day 2 of the event, and we'll have a full 90-minute session of all of the new releases that are coming out from both the Dynamics and Power Platform side of the business. Thank you all for attending, and we'll stay on a little bit longer after we close down the call, just so we can make sure we get the questions answered for you.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.